All right, we're ready to talk about our bonds. That's what everybody wants to talk about first, but you have to get there before you can do them. So we've shared with you a lot of the steps, or these steps to get to this point. And really this process is not that difficult as you've seen this morning. It's really not hard to do. If you can read and fill in the blanks, it's really not difficult. Now our bonds are what is known as bishop bonds. And they're called bishop bonds simply because a gentleman named Bishop formatted them. Now the bishop kind of knew about bonds because he spent a career working for the Vatican Bank. I think he knew what to do with bonds. He knew how to do it. Yeah. So these were formatted. These were sent to me by a friend of the bishop that was also a mutual friend of mine. I never got the opportunity to meet him, unfortunately. I would have loved to. But he heard that we were trying to help people, and he made these available for us to let us use them to help people across the country. And these bonds have been proven. They have been tested. There's people in this room have tested them. And they have been proven to be very valid. Had a meeting 2 weeks ago with a banker from a certain foreign bank and showed them the process. Actually, they came to the seminar and wanted to see the bonds. I showed them to them, and they told me that they would accept these bonds anytime. Yes, sure did, and we're in process of doing that. And when I get that situation under control, I'll be sharing that with some of you. Okay, maybe not all of you, but some of you. I gotta wait and see what some of you do yet. Yeah. If you earn the right, we may just share that with you. But you're going to have to prove yourself.
Sign up for the militia.
Yeah, well, maybe. We'll see. There might be some conditions. Okay. But this particular bond is what we call our birth certificate bond. It's a private registered bond for set-off. It's a simple one-page bond, and we're going to go through it step by step. So I'm going to make sure that you understand how to do this bond. Now, you'll see that it's a private registered a bond for set-off, non-negotiable, with a $100 billion value. It's routed through the certificate of birth, and this is the birth certificate number, accepted for value and is exempt from levy. Now when you go and open an account at the bank, don't you have to put something in it before you can use it? You have to have something of value, right? Well, that's basically what we're doing with the Treasury. We're taking the birth certificate. We know it has value. How much value does it have? Does anybody know? I do. Well, after they sell it. It's worth right now, the latest figure that I received, the average birth certificate is $1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion. That's the last figure I just got. Okay, it's not much, I know, but you can manage. Well, we established the $100 billion mark a long time ago. That doesn't mean that's all you can do. That just means that's all we charge with this one certificate. I've got 5 birth certificates. If I want to do another one, I just do another bond. But I don't need $100 billion. I can't imagine ever needing that. I mean, it's just not. That's high finance, folks. Now, I can't imagine ever needing that. Just maybe I've got low horizons. But, you know, it's not about money with me to start with. It's about helping God's people, and that's what we're trying to do. It's about discharging your debts and getting free. That's what it's about. It's not about getting rich. If you're in here to get rich, you're in the wrong class, because that's not what it's about. Now, I'm not saying you can't do well with this process. But that shouldn't be your focus. Your focus should be getting free and getting your neighbors free and getting your friends and your family free. If you're in here to make millions of dollars, you're in the wrong place, because that's not what I teach. I teach discharge of debt. Now, there are many ways, and I'll show you some tomorrow that you might like that can probably help you retire and enjoy life, and let these judges and lawyers and courts pay you to do it. And we're going to cover some of that tomorrow. All right. Now, this is your all capital letter name and social security number. This is your upper lowercase name. Issue date is the date that you do the bond. The bond number on this particular bond, and I want you to write this down, please. On the birth certificate bond, and only on the birth certificate bond, the bond number is the registered mail number that you pick to send it with. That's the only bond we do that with. This is the foundation stone of your account. We wanted a registered mail number, or a registered number, there. There was rumors going around several years ago when we started doing this that you had to register this stuff through the SEC, but we found out that's not true. SEC is not required to register a bond that is drawn on the United States Treasury. That's a false rumor. Okay, and you can read it right there in the SEC rules. It says so. On any bond that is drawn on bond or note that is drawn on on the United States or any of its subdivisions is not required to be SEC registered. So we wanted a registered mail number, so I talked to an attorney, and we talked about different things, and I asked him about registered mail numbers from the post office. He said, it's a registered number, and it's registered in international commerce. So we picked one of those to establish our account. And this is the number that we put right here, the registered mail number that we use. Same as the bond number. So these two numbers only on the birth certificate bond are the same. Now, how many of these bonds have been returned? Anybody guess?
None.
Right answer. Not one of these bonds has ever been returned from the Treasury. Does that mean they're all good? The law says it is. If they don't return them with notice of deficiencies in 30 days, they have to honor it, period. Even if it has a deficiency. Okay? Yes. If you need to go to the mic, Rolando, if you will, because everybody needs to, we need to have your questions and answers on them. Okay, because everybody can't hear it, and we need to get it on the video.
Hello?
Yeah.
Do you going to put on pay to the order there?
Yes, that is true. Now that is a change, Denise. That was in here and it got taken out somehow and that should say pay to the order. We'll get that on your new disc. We'll get that straight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We did have that in there and it got deleted somehow. Yes, sir.
Does this have to be on mine?
You need to turn the mic on. Yeah, just leave it on.
Thank you. Yes, does this have to be on bond paper with
Yes.
watermarks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we use, that's a good question. If you will, hold your questions till we get to the end of the document, and then we'll answer your questions. We use 32-pound, 100% cotton with a watermark. That's the paper we use. It's called resume paper. You can go down, we use Southworth as a good brand that we use, And you can buy it right down there at Office Depot or Office Max. It's about $30 a box probably for 250 sheets. And we have bought truckloads of it. Go ahead and buy you a couple of reams and throw them in the fireplace and get used to it. Because you're going to burn some of it, I can tell you. I know somebody else back there has had that same experience. I bet we've burnt, there's no telling how many boxes of bond paper. Well, we've had some fun with it. But the bottom line is, don't change this bond unless you know about bonds. I don't know enough to change it, so I didn't. A couple of things I did, but they're very minor. It didn't have anything to do with the validity of the bond. Just made it a little better. But I figured that the bishop knew what he was doing, so I didn't second guess his work. And we've never had one of these returned from the Treasury, and we've had quite a number of things discharged, debts discharged with them. Okay. Pay attention to the highlights. This is your birth certificate number here. This is the registered mail number here. And this, just pay attention to what it says. If it's a capital name or upper or lowercase name, put that in there. That's all you have to do. Real easy to do this thing. Very, very easy. You don't have to worry about the orders. The orders are already laid out for you. Okay. Now down here at the bottom, there's some things that we want you to know about. Okay, right here, this is the expiration date of your bond. Every bond has to have an issue date and an expiration date or a maturity date. Now, on the birth certificate bond, unless you know the date that you're going to croak, and you're going to go on to be with wherever you're going to be, don't put that date down there unless you already know in advance. If you know in advance, it's okay. But most of us don't generally know. It kind of catches us by surprise normally. So, and it's probably a good thing. But the bottom line is this bond expires when you expire. So unless you know when that's going to be, just put your name there and it says it'll expire at the moment you expire, because this does have to have an issue and an expiration date. So when you expire, your BC bond expires with you. Okay, now at the bottom here we have sureties. Surety 1, Surety 2, and this is the principal. Okay, we also have witnesses. Now, we need to talk about what those are. Now, sureties have to be people that are equal with you. That means they got to have the same type of account that you have. So if I do $100 billion bond, and you go out there and do $47 trillion, I'm not going to be your surety because I can't. And I have people do this all the time. One guy, they said, he was in one of my classes, he put 4 pages of zeros on the number on his bond. He said, that would be me. I talked about it. I said, why? What number is that? Well, I don't know, just a lot. Yeah, that's more than God has. It's a bunch of them, that's what I tell you. 4 pages of zeros is insane. Don't do stuff like that. Who's going to be his surety? Somebody with 5 pages of zeros? He can't have sureties because they can't insure him against dishonor. So make sure that you're equal. And I'll talk tomorrow about the doctrine of parity. I'm not going to talk about it today. But tomorrow we'll talk about that, why you have to be equal. Okay. Sureties need to be secured party creditors. They need to have their accounts established and they need to have their bonds in. Now, how do you do that if everybody doesn't have the process done? You do it at the same time. We have what's called bond parties. And all you got to do down here in Texas, if you want to have a bunch of people show up for a bond party, is just advertise you got a free keg of beer. And you'll get all you want. Okay, barbecue and beer, yeah, you'll get them all. Who could miss that in Texas? But anyway, people need to come together, and you need to communicate with one another here and find out who everybody is. You need to pass around and email this, and if you want to put your name on it, fine. If not, don't. But you need to communicate and work together. You've got to learn to work together. You need to start here with this group. The American people have got to learn to come together. If we don't come together, folks, we're not going to survive what's coming. We're going to have one another just to survive. So, it's okay to be sureties. Now, I know the Scripture talks about you shouldn't be a surety for somebody else, and I'm going to show you how we cure that. Because we believe in the Scriptures and believe in obeying by them, so we will show you what we do about that in a minute. Now, sureties have to be people equal to you. They have to have accounts. They have to be secured parties. They have to have that account charged and their bonds in and all this kind of stuff to be a proper surety. Okay? What do witnesses have to be? Have to be of legal age, sound mind, and like I said, we're not going to talk about that. And be able to fog a mirror. Basically it. If they can fog a mirror and they have legal age and sound mind, they can sign as a witness. Okay. That's all that's required. So make sure if you're not sure, check them. Okay. So what is a surety now? Secured party creditor has an account established and a $100 billion birth certificate bond in. Is that right? And an indemnity bond. We'll talk about that next. Any questions on the birth certificate bond? Now, there are a lot of people out there. Come on up to the mic if you have a question. There's a lot of people out here that do unlimited bonds. I don't know if they're good or not good. They just don't make sense to me. How do you keep accounting on an unlimited number? I don't know how you do that. I mean, I know this. Let me ask you this question. Now, if everything I've studied about financial instruments mean they have to have a sum certain on them, could you take an unlimited check and deposit it in the bank? Well, that's what you're asking the Treasury to do. Deposit an unlimited bond. This doesn't add up to me. There's a lot of things I don't understand, and there are a lot of people probably a lot smarter than I am, but that just don't get it for me. I don't understand it, and maybe I'm just too dumb. But anyway, I put numbers on my instruments. Okay.
Can a family member be a surety on your bond?
I prefer. There's no legal reason they can, as far as I know. But I prefer that they should be at arm's length and be not a family member is my preference. But as far as I know, there is no actual law that says they can. But the reason I shy away from it is because I know that notaries cannot notarize for their immediate family members from most everything that I found about notaries. And that's the reasoning behind why I do it that way. So, as far as I know, as I said, I don't know of any law that says you can't do it, but I think it's not a good practice.
If one of your sureties passes, do you have to start over from the beginning?
Not to my knowledge. I don't see why. You still got another one. You're still insured. Each one insures you for $300 million. So unless you're going to make a big boo-boo, you're still covered.
If the debt you're paying off with a bond is $157,100 and knowing the amount will change, what should the size of the bond be?
We're talking about others than the VC bond right now. That's okay. I'll answer the question. What I do, I rarely send anything under $5 million, and we'll talk about why I do that later. But I almost never send anything under $5 million because I really don't care.
Do the sureties have to be the same as your BC bond?
No, they do not. They don't have to be the same. And you don't have to have the same, and sureties on your bond can be sureties on somebody else's bond. Yes.
Is there a space between the name and Social Security number in the body of the document?
Yes. Yes, there should be a space.
Do we write our birth certificate number with or without dashes?
Okay, let me tell you the rule of that right now. If you're talking about the straw man, the number has dashes. If you're talking about the real man, the number has no dashes. That's when the rules are dealing with your Social Security number. If it's referring to the straw man, it has dashes. If it's referring to the real man, it doesn't. Okay? That's the rule across the board.
Can sureties and witnesses be the same people?
Not on the same bond. If a surety can be a witness, but a witness might not necessarily be a surety. It depends. They have to qualify. But yes, a surety can sign as a witness on a bond as well as witness can.
But just not on the same bond, correct? They can't be a surety.
No, you have to have 5 different signatures on these bonds. Witnesses and sureties can't be on the same bond. The same name can't be in both places, no.
The BC number that is on the registered, BC number, on, I'm trying to understand the question here. BC number on, is that the registered, is the registered mail, I'm not understanding the question, the sentence structure
I
of it.
think what they're probably wanting to know is the registered mail number the same as the birth certificate bond number, yes.
Okay. Just read the question. BC number on, is that the registered mail number?
Yes. The number, BC bond number is the registered mail number. They are the same number. Only on that bond, that particular bond. Why? Is because that's the only one I use it on. Because that's the way I want to do it. And I'm big and mean.
Okay. If you're a naturalized citizen, do you replace the certificate of live birth with certificate of naturalization?
Yes, if you don't have a birth certificate, we have used the certificate of naturalization many times, yes. But if you have a birth certificate, I highly recommend that you use that, yes.
Also, along those same lines, we've helped 3 people with immigration naturalization papers, and just like Tim said, there is you have a document from the court that granted you the naturalization.
Yeah.
And instead of sending your packet to the state of vital statistics, where are you going to send it to? You're going to send it to the court that granted the naturalization. Okay, because everything goes back to that one document.
Right. Okay, are there any other questions about the BC bond? Yes, sir.
Okay. If you have some difficulty finding sureties in your state, are you not able to complete or start this process?
What state are you in?
Right here,
Right?
from Dallas.
Plenty of them here.
Okay.
There's plenty of them in this room.
But you said it has to be equal to what you're trying to put on the BC
It
bond.
is, yes. They all have to have equal BC bonds, and they need their indemnity bonds. Well, they have to do their indemnity bonds because they have to do that to be a surety.
Equal or above, or just the same?
Well, it can be equal or above, but I'll tell you now, if you're higher than everybody else, who's going to be your surety?
Okay.
Because you got to be equal. You got to have parity in the law, and you can't do it without it.
Okay. All right,
And
thank you.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, John. I bet your mother loved you, didn't she? I bet you asked why 1,000 times a day, didn't you?
Mama always told me there wasn't a stupid question. The only stupid one was the one you didn't ask. I got an Indian fella who was wondering, he has a birth certificate from India. Can he do the process?
Has he got a Social Security number?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Social Security is collected in about 367 countries.
Tim, you might want to cover, if anybody has an unlimited bond, to correct that, you resubmit your bonds.
Yes.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, that's all you have to do. And I'm not going to say that unlimited bonds are not valuable. I just don't know how to keep the accounting. Don't understand that. Since the Treasury is bound by general accounting practices or general accounting principles, how do you do that when you don't have numbers? I mean, it's just now I understand about unlimited bonds, and I've read about unlimited bonds because I've tried to understand it. And the only thing that I found in my research about unlimited bonds was this: that back years ago when ships came to the New World or to other places to load, They would issue an unlimited bond for the cargo to insure the cargo of the ship in case there was an accident. Well, the reason that they didn't insure it, put an amount on the bond when the ship left is because they didn't know what the amount was going to be. And so when they did the ship's manifest on the cargo, that established the amount on the bond. And that's where the unlimited bond practice came back. It goes all the way back to ancient Spanish sailing ships. And that's how they declared the value, was by the ship's manifest that listed the cargo. So it actually was not an unlimited bond after the ship was loaded. It had after they started putting cargo on, the manifest dictated the amount of the bond, and it was up to a certain. It was unlimited up to a certain amount, I'm sure. But anyway, that's how the unlimited bonds were designed to work. Well, we're not in that system here today. I'm not sailing all over the world gathering cargo. Okay. So any other questions about this bond? Very simple bond. Our next bond is the private registered indemnity bond. Now this bond is a 5-page bond, and this bond is designed to indemnify the sureties that sign on your bond. This is an insurance policy. The Scripture tells us not to be sureties, and so what we felt like we did need to do is protect our sureties from any injury for signing on our bond, and so we issued a bond, and we also cross-referenced their bonds and our bonds intermingled. So they insure us and we insure them. Surety 1, Surety 2. Now, this is the registered mail number. Where do you get the registered mail number for this bond? The red tag that you got registered on your property list. Okay, the value of this bond is $300 million. Each person is insured with 2 of these, which is $600 million. And that's a pretty good boo-boo, $600 million, if you make one. I don't think you'll make an unintentional $600 million boo-boo. It'll be kind of tough. Okay, now on these bonds, they have an issue and a maturity date. This is not a misprint. The maturity date should end 1 day, calendar day prior to the issue date. That gives you an exact number of years. And this is a 30-year bond. Okay. Now, this is the principal's upper lowercase name and his all capital letter name underneath it in the Social Security with dashes. Okay. Comes the bond number. You remember that little list of numbers I told you to reserve? Okay, this is one of the IB numbers. This would be your 3 initials, IB 0001, if that's your first. The second one would be 0002. And you can write 9,999 of them. Have fun. That's a lot of them. Okay. Now, you can write off of your $100 billion bond. How many of these could you write? 3,000? Would it be 3,000? 3,000. Be a bunch of them. So I don't think you're going to run out anytime soon. Okay. But this is probably, there's few of these that we write in indemnity bonds. We use them for other purposes as well. We indemnify court cases sometimes with these, but other than that, we normally use this for indemnifying sureties. Now, your surety information is right here. This is the upper lowercase name of the surety, and this is the private offset. This is the private registered indemnity. We need to change that in this. This is wrong. That's supposed to say the private registered indemnity bond here. Here and here. This is one we found that mistake. Okay. Yeah, it should say exactly the same as this up here. Should be right there. We're going to correct it onto this. We'll give you the disc out in the morning and you'll have it corrected. Okay, this is the bond number of your surety's private registered indemnity bond right here. He does one just like you do one. Okay, and this is the United States Post Office registered mail number right here that is on that bond. This is his private offset account number, which is the social with no dashes. Does everybody see that? And are you clear on that? Because I want to make sure you understand that. Okay, all of this information on these two lines right here are for surety one. This is his upper lowercase name. This is his indemnity bond number. The same type of bond you're doing for you, he did one too. That's his bond number. And this is the registered mail number from that bond. That links his bond to your bond for security. That's what we're doing. We're routing through other bonds for security. We're layering. Okay. Now, this is surety number two's information. This is his private offset account number, which is the social with no dashes. Just put in what it says. This is his indemnity bond number and the registered mail number for it. So you are indemnified for $600 million, and they are also. Everybody has one similar. So you're indemnifying them. Okay, another thing, Denise, we need to take these initials out of here. They're supposed to be at the bottom of the page. I don't know how that. But they are at the bottom of page 2. Okay? We'll get it right. These are just bond orders. You put your name, principal, surety 1 and surety 2. Now this is where you initial. This is for surety 1, surety 2, and principal's initials. Down here at the bottom, you put the bond number from the top of this bond right here and the registered mail number that you're sending it with right there. That is on every page. That ties every page of this bond together. It'll say page 2, bond number, registered mail number, and 3 and 4 and 5. Do the same way. All right, page 2. The only thing you do on page 2 is you put the initials and the bond and registered mail number information here at the bottom. You don't have to do any language on that. And the same with page 3. The bond orders are already made. You don't have to worry about that. You initial it and put your bond number and registered mail number on page 3. That's all. No bond language you have to do. Page 4, we've got to put some information in. Page 4, in E, you put your address along with the bond number and maturity date. And that comes off the face of the bond. That's what it says right there. Real simple. You also put bond number and registered mail number at the bottom. Page 5 is the signature page. Okay? Some information you got to put on this page. Okay. Now, this is the bond number here. And this is the signature. This is the date that you signed, which should be the same as the day you made the bond normally. 2009. Okay, surety 1's initials, surety 2's initials, and principal's initials. And here is the signature line. Now, this is where you fill in the name, upper lowercase name, and social without dashes. And this right here is right thumbprint. You can't read it, but that's the right thumbprint. You put that right out here up over that where you sign. What color do you do thumbprints? Why? Because it's pretty. Okay. red indicates a blood seal, but that's what I'm told anyway. Sounds like a good story anyway. Okay, now down here you have to put in the signature date for the witnesses, and witnesses should see you sign this bond. If they didn't see you sign that bond, how are they being witnesses? That's why you need bond parties, so you can come together and you can work on these things together, and you'll have all the people that you need to sign all of the signatures. Now, when Denise throws this big barbecue and free beer for all y'all to come over to the bond party, her and Lloyd, boy, that's going to be nice. Can I come?
You bet.
We'll have some good old Texas barbecue. But you really need to come together and work with one another. You've got to do that, people. Yes.
Just had one question about the signature, and this might be a stupid question, but do you still use by, colon, and then your signature?
I don't.
You don't do that?
You
Okay.
can do that if you like. Sure, it's your choice.
Not required.
I don't use it because I've already designated what my signature is on my earlier in my actual constructive
Okay.
notice documents. I've defined who I am, so
Okay, thank you.
I can use it. Or use it. I have done it both ways, but it's not necessary. That's my opinion. Okay. Now, what do witnesses? Who are witnesses? What requirements do they have to have? There you go. Yeah, they do need a thumb. No, the witnesses don't have to have a thumb. They don't even have to have thumbs. Legal age, sound mind, and fog of mirror. Okay. And that's how simple that bond is. That's a $300 million indemnity bond to insure you, insure your sureties, insure you, in case somebody makes a big boo-boo, because somebody's going to. I'll promise you, in this group, we've got somebody that's going to mess up. When I was in Charlotte over there, actually it was in Raleigh, I had a guy there that knew more than I did, and maybe he did. Don't take much, but he kept wanting to argue about things, say he knew more. Well, last time I heard, he was getting visited. He wrote 19 bonded promissory notes to purchase. I told him not to do it. Last time I heard that he was being visited by the boys in black. I'm probably going to give him a new address. They got this fabulous golfing club down there in South Florida, where they send you to, and you get to stand out there and what we call them is yo-yo squads, and they go back and forth all day practicing the golf swing. It's called a grass swing. And they get to practice all day long like that. So they make good golfers, I know. Okay. The next bond that we have is called a private registered offsetted discharge bond. This is our green border bond, we call it. And your bond number, where do you think you might get that bond number from? The list. The list with the OB numbers on it, remember? The property list. Okay, the registered mail number is one of them you pick. Issue and maturity date, put that in there. This is also a 30-year bond. Now, this bond is formatted the same way the other bond is, but it has account holders. Now, account holders right here are whoever you say they are. Who do you owe? Who do you want to pay? Wachovia Bank, Lending Tree, First Franklin Finance. It doesn't matter if they're holding a debt that you want to discharge. You need to put their name here. You don't need to put their addresses or any numbers on here. Just the name. That's all. You want to write that down there? Just the name. I get that question a lot. Only the name is required right here. And they're account holders. Now, how many of them can you put on this bond? $300 million worth. That's how many. So as many as you can satisfy the debt for, up to $300 million. If you need to go over $300 million, you owe a lot. Now, what about other people's debt? Does it have to be yours? No, you can discharge debt for anyone as long as it's a public debt. And by public debt, I mean that there's a promissory note out there, and it's a company that normally loans money or allows you to purchase things, and they finance it for you. It doesn't mean that you can write me a $50,000 note. That's not what it's for. It's not between individuals. It's public. Banks, loan companies, that sort of thing. Public utilities can be done, though, because they get public funds. But don't, and I got this question just yesterday, how do I pay my light bill? You don't. You'll make a deal with a public utility to give them a couple of $1 million bond to give you a lifetime of electricity, go for it. But don't go there and try to pay your monthly bills. If you do, they'll shut it down. Nobody will get anything. You'll lock them down. That's what they did in Las Vegas. Everybody was sending them their car payments and stuff to pay. Why don't you just pay the darn car off? Just discharge the whole amount. Why would you discharge a $600 payment when you can discharge the $36,000 debt with the same instrument? Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, but and I was dropped on my head. I know for a fact. I got documentation to prove it. Got witness statement. Okay. Pay to the order of the Treasury. That's correct. And 4, your upper lowercase name. This one lays out just like the other one did, basically. The information is filled in exactly the same way. But you just add your account holders. And that's whoever you want to pay. If you want to pay your student loan off for your kid, or your child, excuse me, kids are goats. I was informed of that the other day. Your child, go for it. If you want to discharge your mother and father's mortgage, go for it. But put the mortgage holder down here. Put the person down that you want, or the bank down, or the institution down that you want to discharge the debt for on this bond. It's important that you do that. And when you send this in, you're telling them, we're going to send you presentments for these people to be discharged. And you're setting it up for that, for the discharge is what you're doing. Other than that, this bond lays out exactly the same way. Yes, sir.
Hypothetically speaking, I know you're not supposed to create money with this stuff. I'm not about to do that. But in my community, there's a hospital that needs some help. I'm trying to build a new hospital. So I'm sure that, I'm not sure how that would work out as far as they're trying to get money to build a hospital. Now, I don't know if they're getting money and creating a debt. I'm not quite sure logistically how to pull this off, but I would love to...
give them a bond.
Give them a promissory note, bonded promissory note?
Just give them a bond.
Okay.
They can use it later as an asset into the company and use it.
Great.
Yeah. Just give them $100 million. Who cares?
Okay.
And then name a wing after you. I bet they would probably treat you very good if you ever had to go to the hospital. You can do that because it's a public entity. Yes.
You have multiple pages per bond.
Yes.
When you're the bishop, he riveted them. Are you riveting them?
No, I don't.
You don't. You leave them separate?
I always have, and you can do that. There's nothing wrong
Or
with
glue
that.
them and then rivet
That's
it
the
together.
reason I put my bond, my page numbers and my bond and my registered mail number on the bottom of the page. That ties them together. That's why I do that. But yeah, you can do that, sure. But I don't. I've done it a time or two, put them in covers and did all the little brass, little doohickeys and all that stuff, done all that kind of stuff. It didn't seem to make any difference. They honored them anyway. Okay. Anybody else have questions about that? Okay, let's,
There's questions here, Tim.
okay. See if I can fabricate some answers.
There you go. If you want to discharge other people's debt, do you put down their name and who they owe the money to?
No, just the institution you owe. What do you want to discharge for?
Is there a limit to how many bonds you can be a surety for?
Yes, as many as you want.
This may be the next bond. Please ask for common courtesy. There is too much chattering while Tim is talking and the others are asking questions, please.
Okay, you chatterboxes, knock it off. Okay. Yeah, please be respectful of other people. When we have this many people, if 2 or 3 are talking back there, it really makes the sound real difficult.
What if later on you wind up with, like my son or my brother, and I want to discharge something of them? Do we have to, we don't put the name on this bond, what do we do then?
I'll show you next.
Okay.
You just put the company you want to discharge for on here. That's all you put on this one. And other than that, this bond, this is a 6-page bond, but other than that, it lays out the same as the other. The information fills in the same way. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I had one thing to add. If we have something we want to add in the future, we just send another bond with the updated list.
That's a good question. Sure you can. You can send one of these every 3 days if you want to, as many as you like. But the bottom line is if you know something, maybe you know that you're going to buy a car through GMAC or Ford Motor Credit or through a particular bank, or if you got a bank that you might be planning to do a mortgage through, put them down. You can put as many down as you want to. You don't have to use them. But if they're on there, they're already in place for discharge if you do that, and that's probably a good idea.
So, like, in a few years, if you had something else that you had to pay off, do you just issue another bond with the originals and that added, or do those originals stand?
This is good for 30 years unless you use it all up.
What I was saying is, if you forget to put something, I mean, you can't tell what you're going to be incurring debt for if you try to, down the line, if you try to buy something and you want to pay it off, I mean, can we issue another bond with that financial? Okay, that's all I was asking.
Yeah, you can do as many as you like. This is a lifetime deal. Once you get into this, it's forever. Till you croak. That's when it quits. It quits when you do.
On the bond, Tim, if you'll scroll back up where it says account holder, would you please specify who the account holder is? It the name of the person? Like when it says MasterCard, is it the name of the person?
You do not name a person. You name a company.
On that bond where it says Capital One account holder,
Yes,
Capital One is the account holder.
correct.
Okay.
Capital One is the account holder, right? Okay, so remember what account holders are because they come in play. All right, go ahead.
And this one is requesting to please remind to keep paying until it's zeroed out.
Yes, that is good. Don't stop paying your payments when you send one of these in. It takes a while sometimes. They can actually take 180 days legally before the discharge, and I've seen them wait till the wire on them too. So don't quit paying your payments. You'll get into a jam. Don't do that. Okay, and like I said, this is exactly formatted the same way. Information is filled in the same way as the other bond. This is just has an extra page, that's all. Okay.
Will you please clarify, Tim, when you mail these bonds in? What's the time frame in between the issuance?
I will certainly do that, yes. The birth certificate bond is a 30-day cure time. It has to be in 30 days after receipt. Okay. Now, while that's curing, and if you want to speed the process up a little bit, once they receive the birth certificate bond and you get confirmation, and you can do that easily by going on your computer to USPS.com and looking up the tracking number on your bond, and it'll tell you when it's received at the Treasury. When it's received at the Treasury, you can go ahead and send your indemnity bond in. And when it is received at the Treasury, send your offset bond in, and then you're ready. And they'll cure in the same 30 days, unless there's a little glitch. Okay, the BC bond, birth certificate bond, takes 30 days to cure. Once it is received, and you got confirmation that it's been received, you can send the indemnity bond in, which usually is about 7 to 10 days. Send the next one in and give it takes 7 to 10 days on it, and then you can send the final bond in, the third bond in. And then they'll all cure in about the same 30 days, and that's the way to do it. And that way you don't have to wait 30 days, then 10 days, then 10 days. They can cure at the same time. They're not going to send them back. They like these. They're making lots of money off of this. Yes, all bonds are sent separately. Now your BC bond goes with the first package, but the other two go individually. Do not send them together, yes.
All bonds are sent separately with $25 of postage on each bond.
We'll get to that in a few minutes. You're getting ahead of me, Smarty. She was listening last time. That's good. Okay, the next instrument is called our registered bonded promissory note. Now we've redone this process a little bit, and we've started going to what's called a direct note because we found better ways to enforce these, and so now we've just started sending them straight to the vendors. It's been working pretty good. Been getting a lot of results from these bonds. Now this is a standard $10 million bond. You can make it for any amount you want. This is a simple one-page bond. But there are a couple of little things you need to know about it, and I'm going to share that with you. And please, everybody pay attention, and please write down what I tell you to write down so you won't get confused and ask me 47 times, because that generally happens. But I want you to understand this. It's very simple. If you'll just write down what I tell you to write down, you'll understand it quite well. Okay? This is your note number. This is the number, the bonded promissory note number that you reserved on your property list. This is the United States Post Office registered mail number right here that you chose to send it with. And you pay to the order of U.S. Department of Treasury, care of Timothy F. Geithner, trustee of the U.S. Bankruptcy, and the account holder. Now, Internal Revenue Service needs to be taken out of there unless it is the Internal Revenue Service. We didn't take that out last time. We should have. Okay. The account, who are the account holder? Who is the account holder? Right, it's whoever you want to pay. Who you want to discharge the debt for. So the account holder is Citibank, Ameriquest Mortgage, or whatever it is. That's your account holder. In the amount of $10 million, that's just you can change it if you want to, do whatever you want to. I'm going to talk about that a little later, why we do what we do. For credit to is the account holder, which is the same that is over here. For the all capital letter name of the principal who signs this bond. That is your name if you're doing this bond in all capital letters. That's your straw man name. You write that down, please. That's the straw man name of the person that signs this bond, the principal on this bond. Any questions on that? The account number comes from the statement that you're trying to discharge the debt for. It could be a credit card number, a loan number, whatever is on the statement, that is the number that you put right here. So please make a note of that. That comes from the statement that you're trying to pay. The amount here is exactly the amount that is on the statement to the penny. Plus interest, penalties, and extra fees. Okay? If you're paying this for yourself, you put a period after fees and you delete the rest of that line. if it's your debt. If it's somebody else's debt, you include for the benefit of the all-capital straw man name of the person that you're paying the debt for, and that should be the person that's on the statement that you're discharging. The all-capital letter name on that statement is what that is for the benefit of. Cousin Jerry, you got a question?
No, I got a little information. Treasury Department rules state that they're supposed to give you a receipt when you send these in, and you're supposed to send them a self-addressed stamped envelope for the receipt. So far, we haven't been able to get them to do that, so I guess we're going to have to get after
I used to send them all the time, and I never got
No,
any
me
receipt.
neither. But that's their requirements.
Yeah, I used to send one with every bond. I never got anything, so I quit doing it.
They're using those envelopes for something.
You probably are. Yeah, we were sending them in, and they never responded. So we quit doing that. Okay, does everybody understand the for credit too? Very, very easy. Makes sense if you think about it. Remember, this is a check. This is simply a check. The bonded promissory note is the same as a check you would write. Now, the question I normally get, can you put multiple account holders on this? Well, let me ask you a question. Would you put multiple account holders on a check that you write to discharge a debt or pay a debt with? No, you treat it just like a check. One debt, one note. Bill?
If you're going to offset somebody's mortgage per se, if it's a joint account, do you have to put both their straw man names on there?
No.
Just one?
Just one of them, either or.
Either or?
Yeah, you don't need but one. As long as one of them's on there, and the account number, and you've got the statement accepted for value, it'll find its way. Okay, now the routing through part. When it says routing through, you're bringing this through the private offset discharge bond that you just put the account holders on the green bond you did before this, with the account holders on it. We're routing it through that bond, offset discharge bond. Okay, you have it there where it says routing through, and down here in number 4 you have it again, the bond number as well as the registered mail number from that same bond. So this number and this number is the same. Everybody understand that? Make sure you are clear. We don't want anybody to go home confused. Because I know I throw a lot of information at you, but it's really not that hard. You're a pretty smart group out here. I'm going to have to give y'all an A. Okay. Okay, right here you put the account holder's address here, the vendor that you're paying, or the bank, or whatever it is, the account holder down here. We probably need to put account holder there. Instead of vendor, I would put account holder. That way it'll stay constant, because that kind of is confusing. Okay, and you send this to the main headquarters. Don't send it to the little local podunk bank, because they're going to say, what in the world is this crazy stuff? So don't do that. Send it to the head man that knows what he's doing. And put attention the CEO or CFO if you got their names. And if not, just put CFO or CEO in there. And their address. This stays the same, Timothy Geithner, Department of the Treasury. And you put your address over here. And that's how easy that is. That's the easiest $10 million you ever did in your life with. Yes, sir.
Came across a list of CEOs for major companies and their EIN numbers. If anybody needs that, I can try to find it for you guys.
Yeah, if you can come up with a site. Okay. Yes, sir, absolutely. We love that. Yeah, Denise, a broadcaster.
Now, if you've set in an acceptance for value without using a bond through another technology, but you want to use this instead, is there any way of purging that out of the system? I personally have one into the federal government, but I don't want to do two because I'm afraid of what might happen.
If you've just done an acceptance for value, you can do this anyway, it doesn't matter.
And this won't cause any problems with counterfeiting or anything like.
Did
No.
you send another instrument?
No, it was just the bill to the Treasury for liquidation.
Just do it over and send a note, and I'll tell you how we're going. I'm about to cover that. How to do this, how to send it in. No, I wouldn't. If they has it been more than 30 days, or if they didn't honor it, send them another one. We don't really care. It's your account. You use whatever credit you want. Okay. Now I want you to get your pen and pad out, and I want you to write this procedure down, because this is the way you discharge a debt properly. And it's step by step. I'm going to go through it step by step what you do. And you want the steps just right at the top of the page. Steps for discharging debt. The first thing that you have to do to discharge a debt is you have to have a bill to show proof of the debt. You take the bill or the statement and you accept it for value on both sides and endorse it. Fill out the stamp and sign it, date it. The stamp shows you where to put all that. Step 2, you create the bonded promissory note to discharge the debt. Now, how much would you say you got a $350,000 mortgage? How much would you use? How much of a note would you write for that? I'm going to do $10 million. Yeah, I'm going to do $10 million. The reason I'm going to do $10 million is because, remember, I put the Treasury Department in there as payee along with the bank, because I'm partnering now with Big Brother. I just made him a partner in this claim. Okay, and I'm going to give him $10 million, and guess what's going to happen when they don't honor my note? I'm going to do what's called a 3949A, and I'm going to send it to Big Brother and say, hey, these guys are holding your funds. Please go down there and find out what's wrong. And we're going to show you how to do that tomorrow. And the 3949A, when you do that, that gives Big Brother a notice that these guys are committing dishonor. Well, I don't know if you know that the Treasury, that the IRS is the collection arm of the Treasury. And if you got the Treasury and you are partners with the Treasury, and they're going to send these guys from the IRS to collect this money, they'll actually send TIGTA, which is the investigator. They'll send it to TIGTA, and TIGTA will pick up on the thing and investigate it. And they'll send these guys in black down there to talk to these fellows and say, you know what, where did this instrument go? Just had an incident happen just a few weeks ago. It was kind of funny. A buddy of mine, he used the same note. And he sent in a tax bill to be discharged. And a couple of weeks he got it back. They sent the note back. Said, we can't accept this for payment. So he did a 3949A and sent a copy of it with it. About a couple of weeks passed, and he got this telephone call that's from the tax collector at that county and said, listen, we have talked to our bank and they have determined that we can process your note. If you'll send it back to us, we'll do it immediately. Well, do you know why they did that? Because they got a call from TIGTA, likely, or a visit from TIGTA, and it's a $500,000 fine if they can't produce that note. Well, they sent it back to him. You think they might have wanted it back? Kind of gave them a little inspiration there. Probably a few $100 tax bill, maybe a few thousand at the most, was going to cost them $500,000. So what we do is we partner with the Treasury so that they'll go out and collect their funds, and in the process they'll get ours. You know what the IRS will do for $1 million? They'll go after you for $35. Much less $1 million. What you think they're going to do for $1 million? They're going to come after you. So you need to understand that. That's why we do the big amounts, because we want it to make it interesting. Do I care? I can write 30 $10 million notes off of that one offset bond. That's a lot. That's a lot. So if I need more than that, go write another one. Do 30 more. Yeah. Yes, I do.
With what you're doing?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I abide by the general accounting practices, so I know that when if I've exhausted $300 million, I have to write another one. Okay. Now you've got the receipt, you've got the statement accepted for value on both sides, and now you've created the note. Now we need a 1040V. Now you remember what I told you about the 1040V. What are the two things that are important about the 1040V? Leave the amount blank and endorse it on the back with the accepted for value stamp and signature. Important. Okay, you include the 1040V. That's step number 3. Step number 4, you do a Form 56 showing that you have appointed Geithner as your fiduciary agent. You just Xerox a copy of the one you sent him, that's fine. No. Send him a copy showing that you've appointed him. And then you send a cover letter. That's the pre-offset notice for balance book adjustment. And if you want to write a cover letter of your own, you can. And just tell them to zero the account. Or you can just use our standard cover letter. That's fine. And those are the 5 items that we put in the envelope to discharge a debt. All right, we take that and we put that into an envelope. Do not bend, staple, or fold anything. Put it in an envelope. We send that by notary presentment, which we also put in there with it. And we list the documents. And there's a copy of a notary presentment on your desk for you to look at. Shows you how we do it. And you can modify it if you need to, make it fit your state notaries and all, because sometimes you have to. And you include that in there. That's the 6th thing in the envelope. And we put that, take that, and we send that by registered mail with $21 in stamps, and we declare a value of $21. Why do we do that? That's right. It keeps it in international commerce with a right to a trial by a jury. No judge that is dealing with a foreclosure issue or a bank that is dealing with a note wants to get into that situation in the Court of International Claims, I can tell you, because they're going to lose. They don't want to go there. And I noticed the judge in my case down there in Alabama that he didn't have any say-so in the matter because it was out of his jurisdiction. It was in the jurisdiction of the Court of International Claims, which was the only court of competent jurisdiction. And he didn't argue with me either. He knew. Putting that registered mail receipt, that is an international receipt. It brings it under the Universal Postal, or the International Post Office is what it brings it under, yeah. Thank you. Brings it under their rules. Now, if you're dealing with a little local judge like in a foreclosure case or something, and you do this to him, you have really caused him some serious problems, because you have just pulled his teeth, basically. He doesn't have the authority to rule anymore. You took it out of his jurisdiction. Well, when you're dealing with these local county judges, they're in bed with the lawyers and the bankers, sometimes literally. I'm not joking. These are some. That's a lot of truth in that. But anyway, they all work together to defraud you of your property. So you have to protect yourself. First of all, you got to know more than they do. And you probably already do know more than most of them after just this one weekend. Because they really don't know much. I've learned that. But they're good at fraud. And foreclosures are fraud. Tomorrow I'm going to show you about that. Okay? Now repeat to me what you do to discharge debt. I gave you the steps. Okay, let's let one person read it. Who wants to read it? Go ahead. Stand up at the mic, please, and read it. And step number 1.
You have to obtain a bill or a statement and then accept it for value on both sides.
Correct.
Create a bonded promissory note to discharge debt.
Yes.
For example, a $350,000 mortgage debt, you would send a $10 million bond.
Yes.
And I wasn't quite sure about this part. Are we sending this whole package to the vendor or to the treasurer?
Yes, to the vendor.
Okay, and so if they hold it and refuse to offset or refuse to zero the account, you send a 3949 form to the IRS.
Yes.
To make them go get their money.
Right.
And then you also include in the documentation you have a 1040V to the IRS with the bill, and you accept it for value, or is that extra?
No, that's the 1040V is accepted for value.
Is doing that. Okay, so you accept the 1040V. Then you send a 56, an IRS form 56.
Yes.
With the cover letter, and then you put it all in an envelope without bending anything, no stapling. And you send it registered mail with $21 postage.
Okay. You
Notary
also
presentment.
put the notary presentment in there with it as well.
Okay.
And you keep a copy. Okay. Is everybody clear on that process? Thank you.
How long do you give them before you file that 3949?
30 days from the time they receive it. They're required to process this. They're required to process it before the close of business on the day they receive it, but they quite often don't. But they can send it back. We give them 30 days because the law says they can send it back if there's a defect up to 30 days. They can deny it up to 30 days if there's a defect. But then they have to send it back to you before 30 days is up within that time period with the note of what the defects are. They have to notice you. Yes? Okay, lay it on.
Okay. If it will help, I'll add the steps to discharge debt on when we create the new
Please do.
CD.
That would
Okay.
be great. Yay! We're going to give you a raise.
I love that, Tim. Just
Double
a couple
zero.
of nickels. Double zero.
Double
yeah.
zero.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is a bill or a
One thing I did need clarification on. If you are, sorry,
You're allergic to that.
I know it, or it's allergic to me, huh? You said to add the 3949 on the notary presentment. Do you recommend going ahead and sending the 3949 to the vendor ahead of time?
30 days later.
30 days later. So there are actually 5 documents on the notary presentment.
Yes, there's 5 documents on the notary presentment, but the notary presentment itself becomes the 6th document that goes in the package.
Correct. Okay. Okay, so, yeah, okay. Thank you, Tim, for clarifying that. Okay, do you print bonds on both sides?
No, do not print a bond only on single-sided only. The back of a bond is used for endorsement purposes by the bankers and treasury.
When you send in a bill for offset to zero balance, would you list again what all forms are sent in together and how they are stamped?
Okay, I think we just did that. We just answered that one.
Yeah. If you're discharging someone else's debt, who signs the accepted for value?
You do. If you're the
You're the
principal, whoever the principal is does it, yes.
Should we send a copy of the 3949A to the PN to show them we know what we are taking or what we're talking about?
No, do not. You're not supposed to send that for 30 days.
Fair enough. Where do we send the list?
What list?
What list? He went over, okay. Can we pay off our own? You know what, I'm telling you, there's not a dumb question, because you're going to get home and you're going to probably ask some of the questions you wish somebody had asked. So I commend all of you. These are great to get recorded right here.
It is.
It's going to help Tim as well. Can we pay off our own company debt that's purchased from overseas via Overseas International Bank?
Yes. You can. This is an international process. You can do it anywhere.
If you intend to discharge another person's debt, must you have written authorization from that person?
No.
That would be a good Christmas, wouldn't it, Tim?
Hey, who wouldn't want you to do that is my question. I'd be real concerned about that person.
Why are they making money on the bond process?
Because they want to. That's why.
If the debt that you're paying off with a bond is $157,000 plus, and knowing the amount will change, what should the size amount of the bond be?
Of the note.
It says of the bond, but it should be a note.
Be the note. Yeah. The amount of the note should be plenty to cover it, but like I say, I rarely put less than $5 million on a note because I want the Treasury to have enough to interest it to go collect. Because it's my partner in this, because I made them co-payee. And so that means they own their share of the note. Yeah, they go down and get their share. Yes, and that's what I want. Don't you think that would be a good partner to have, the Treasury? Oh, what instruction? Well, yeah, you can do that. That's a good question.
Let's ask the question. Are you going to talk about how the funds will be allocated?
Okay. Okay.
Directions to the company.
What I normally do, I make it real easy. I do it in 2 words. Per stirpes. That means to each his own. They equally share in the note, and that's the way I normally do it. It's just that simple. That way you don't have to say 40% to this one, 33 and 30% to that one, or 25% to that one, whatever. If you put per stirpes, they all share equally.
And where would those?
Everybody equally owns the note.
I'm so sorry. Where would those instructions go, Tim? Where would the per stirpes?
At the very end of the. Let me back it up and I'll show you. Now you can signify, or let them know what you want done. If you want to give one 50% and the other one 25%, you can do that. That's up to you. It's your fund. So the easiest way to do it, unless you have a specific reason to, is just put per stirpes. Right here at the end, after you put the final account holder in there, per stirpes, where it says pay to the order of. And they know what that means. That's an insurance term that means to each his own. Everybody shares equally. It's a beneficiary thing. On insurance policies, they did that. They do that when they want. Say you got multiple beneficiaries on a policy, and say you got $1 million policies, and you got 5 beneficiaries. Each one gets the same amount, $200,000. That's the easy way to do it. Okay, and you can designate exactly what you want, but other than that, that's the easy way.
Is the discharge of debt a taxable event? Number one, because you're the account holder.
No.
You want to? No.
It's not a taxable event. No, it's debt. It's not income.
Perfect. Number two. Number two is it a taxable event because a third party, or for the third party that you're paying the debt off for?
If I loan you money and you pay me back, did I make a capital gain on that?
Mm-mm.
That's the same thing we're doing here. We're just collecting a credit that is owed. We're not making income off of this. The discharge debt.
If you're behind on payments, will this process still work?
Yes. Probably work faster than probably be glad to see something.
Is there someplace we can obtain an accounting ledger template or format that would be useful for our own record keeping?
It's called Excel.
Thank you. Why are you including a 1040V?
Because that is the evidence of the exchange that the IRS routinely uses to make transfers from accounts. That's why we include it.
V meaning voucher, huh?
Yeah, the voucher.
If you're sending multiple bills from the same company, do you need to send in more than one envelope, or can you send, if you have two accounts with MasterCard, can you send both of them in the same envelope? Everything separate.
One note should have its own envelope, and it should be one debt.
Brother Tim, do you have a possible word of caution that is applicable to the group if people are printing out too many of these bonds and they don't have void on bonds that are in their home? Should they ever get a visit?
They should have copy on them.
That's void or copy?
Yes, you should have copy on any notes or bonds that you have in your possession that are copies. To make sure they can't be rendered into commerce and you can get a counterfeiting charge. So it's a good idea to stamp them copy. That's what I have. I have copy stamp. Yes.
For announcements?
Yeah, when we get finished we will. Yeah.
Okay, tell me when that is.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Just let's get finished with the presentation. We'll do all of that. I'll keep this.
If you are discharging someone's debt, how would they know it's been satisfied?
Well, they'll usually get a receipt, but they don't always. Sometimes you have to call them and they say it's been zeroed. A lot of times you'll get a credit card statement that'll just be zeroed out, but they won't send you a receipt.
Okay, on a mortgage, and you say like you do this, and you say just keep making your payment, and there's an overpayment, do they have to be refunded to you?
Yeah, they'll refund it to you, or supposed to refund it to you. This is what I tell people: if you overpay and it's discharged and you overpay, just OID it next year.
For somebody else, right?
Yeah. OID the money.
Well,
sure. You can OID it. Okay, and I'm not going to teach about OID and not going to answer questions about OID. That's a whole other class. We're not going there, I promise. Okay, are there any questions about that process, how we discharge debt? Very simple process. You see how easy this is? It really is.
What if you owe a corporation money you borrowed on your ranch or something? What can you?
Is it a promissory note through a regular loan company or just a private?
Just a promissory note to a private corporation.
No, sir, you can't do that. That's crossing the public-private barrier, and you're not a transfer agent, and you'll get in trouble for that.
Okay.
How about if it's recorded in the courthouse?
If there's not a public promissory note from a loan institution, it's not allowed. Now, I've got a friend right in this area actually that did that. Corporation to corporation, a $250,000 note here a while back, and they canceled his bank account. When they deposited it in the bank account, they shut him down. And he got some nasty letters from the Treasury, and you just don't want to go there. That's not what you want to do. But do not cross that line. Don't cross that line. You don't want to go there. I'm telling you.
Couldn't you get a public loan and pay that one off and then pay off your public loan?
Sure. You can do that. A private loan is a little different animal. You don't want to go there. There's no provision in the law, to my knowledge, to discharge a private debt. Because you can do it through a transfer agent, but you're not going to find anybody that'll do that. Okay, and not in this country. All right, we need to talk about mailing and filing procedures. Okay, please write this down because you've been a great group. I have to admit, I'm going to have to give you all a good grade. You really have. Much better than most groups I teach. Actually, it's mailing and recording. Thank you, Rick. I told you I'm from Alabama. Don't expect much. But anyway, mailing and recording, that's a good thing. Okay. Now, in Section 1, our freedom documents, as we talked about earlier, we take them down and record them wherever. You can do it through Denise or you can do it through your local county or whatever process you want to do. They just need to be filed. They need to be recorded in the public. Okay, when you get those documents recorded, depending on what system you use and what the practice is wherever you do the recording, you'll either get the original stamped and given back to you, or you'll get a certified copy. Some courthouses still file the originals and give you a copy back. There's a few of them left. Most of them have gone to scanning and they give you the originals, but some of them still do that. So, and that's okay if that's the process. If that's the procedure they do, that's fine. Just take whatever they give you. Okay, all of the documents in Section 1 are recorded there, and they're date and time stamped. You take those, and you take all the originals that are in Section 2. They have to be original wedding signature. These are bank agreements. Would your bank take a copy of a check or an instrument or something? No, they want the real wedding signature thing. And the Treasury is the same way. So everything in Section 2 will be wedding signatures with thumbprints wherever it's required. It'll be the original copies. You take those two sections and put them together. And you take your birth certificate and your birth certificate bond. And you add to those sections 1 and 2. Okay, everybody with me so far? Okay, you need to make a copy. Always keep copies, but you need to make a copy of all that. Okay, for your records. Okay, you need to send that package after you've made a copy to the United States Treasury by registered mail with $21 in stamps and a declared value of $21. Send it by registered mail, $21 in stamps, and declare a value of $21. Don't insure it. They won't insure paper anyway. Okay, everybody got that? I send it by notary presentment. And I put a copy of the notary presentment in the envelope, and I keep a copy. The notary presentment will list all of the documents. And when I list documents on the notary presentment, you remember the tracking numbers that I told you about? Make sure you put those down, because that identifies that specific document. The ones that don't have tracking numbers, list by name. And then at the bottom, list where they're filed or where they are recorded. Sorry, Rick. Where they are recorded. And put your recording numbers, your LIBOR number on there. Okay. Now you send this with the green card, the 3811 green card, return receipt requested. 3811, it's the little green card from the post office. Return receipt requested. Now when it gets received and they sign off, Mr. Middleton at the Treasury signs off on it and sends you back that card, and I've got dozens of those things. from Mr. Middleton. They'll send it back to you, and you take that and keep it with your copy of the notary presentment. You've got proof that they received it and what they received. Documentation is everything. Okay, why don't I send certified mail like a lot of people do to the Treasury? One reason, because it's in international commerce. What's the next reason? Well, another reason is because when they bring mail into the U.S. Treasury, they bring the registered mail on hand totes. They roll the certified mail in on pallets. Which one do you want yours in? They take the registered mail right on in and process it. The certified mail goes into the storage room until they can work it out. They get a lot of mail at the Treasury. So I want mine in the smaller batch. So does that make any sense to you? It's the reason I do it that way. The only thing that I ever got returned from the Treasury was sent by certified mail by mistake. I actually paid the post office to send it by registered mail, and the postmaster refused. I'd paid for it, and she took and changed it and put a certified sticker on it instead. It was returned. And it said the instrument was torn in half, and with a little note, handwritten note on it, it says mailed improperly. The only thing I ever got back from the Treasury. So I never send anything else by certified mail to the Treasury. Now a lot of people do, and don't seem to have any problems with it, but I am going to send mine registered. You can do it any way you like. But I'm explaining to you why I do it the way I do it. Okay, now you take those things and you've got that package sent to the Treasury. Now we send it to 19 different places. So you need to take that copy that you made earlier, and I want you to write on the birth certificate bond and on the International Bill of Exchange in big letters, copy, or stamp it with a copy stamp. Because those are financial instruments, and you don't want to be accused of counterfeiting by copying that. Just like copying Federal Reserve notes. You don't want to do that. So that's the International Bill of Exchange and the birth certificate bond. Just write copy or stamp copy on it before you run your 19 copies. And this just Xerox 19 copies. And we send that to 19 different state and federal agencies that are on your address list. Now the federal agencies are already formatted for you, and thanks to Denise, they're formatted to go on 2x4 Avery labels. If you put them in your printer, it'll print your address labels right out in just minutes. Thank you, Denise. Saves you a lot of time. Now, there are 4 places in there that have information for your state. I didn't put it in there for you. You're going to have to do something for yourself there. So go look up the information. Now, the one that says Bureau of Vital Statistics, and please write this down. Bureau of Vital Statistics is the state in which you were born, not necessarily the state that you reside in. The others are the state that you reside in.
How are these sent?
We'll get to that in just a second. We send all of these packages out by certified mail and notary presentment with a list of the documents. You've already got the notary presentment, just copy it. Because it's the same package you sent to the Treasury. It's identical. You just copy the thing. You already got it. This is just notification, but notification is vitally important. So now when you notify these agencies, they don't have any excuse to understand that you're in commerce and that you have the right to do all of this stuff. They have no excuse. Now, you're going to get 2 of them back. I'll tell you right now. The Secretary of State from your state is going to send it back with a stupid letter. Why did you just send me this stuff for? Well, that just is fine with us because we don't really care. Now we got proof that they received it. They sent us the stupid letter to verify it, but they're still responsible for the contents, whether they even read them or not, or filed them. We've notified them. The law says if we notified them, they're responsible. Doesn't even matter if they read them or not. They're still responsible. You're going to get one back from the Court of International Claims with another stupid letter. And they're just going to send it back to you and tell you don't know why you sent it up there. That's fine. They send the letter and you got the return receipt and you got the notary presentment. You got proof they received it. So nobody can look at you and say, you didn't tell us. You didn't warn us, because we did warn them. So everybody has been notified. Now, I've got 19 agencies, and most people say, well, it's unnecessary to send to those 19 agencies. Maybe it is. But if you'll do your research like I have, every single one of those agencies has something to do with you in commerce. Every one of them. And that's why we notify them, because we want them to know who we are. We want them to know that we're a secured party. Got an interesting letter the other day. It's kind of interesting. I've never seen this before. But there's a designation now for a secured party, an American secured party. The INS has a designation called that now. I thought it was interesting. American Secured Party. That's new. I hadn't seen that before. Got a letter the other day. So they're starting to pay attention to what we're doing. They know what we're doing. And we know what we're doing too. So when you do this process the way I tell you, it'll establish you in commerce. This is the opening of a door. Now, I think I've covered that pretty well. The recording and the mailing, that's all of it, really. Are there any questions on that? The mailing and recording. Yes, Rolando. Please take the mic if you have a question. We want to get this on the tape for the benefit of everyone.
Hello? If there's any way that the steps that you just mentioned could be added to this, the step-by-step?
Doing it now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been working trying to get that done, but it has been, oh my goodness. I have not had the time, honestly. But we're going to take the time now. Yes, Randy?
I just talked to my brother-in-law, and it seems that about a month after all my documents were filed, 2 individuals appeared on his porch with FBI badges wanting to know what my politics were. Have you, I don't, well, I do other things, so I'm on their radar anyway. I was wondering, have you ever had agents checking on politics of anyone else who's done this?
They've been checking on me all over the nation.
So I
get reports all the time.
So good, and that's most likely why they're coming, because I have other reasons that would be more unsettling.
Yeah, they check on me because of the paperwork that we've got going on. Doc, you want to tell them what Miles told you about the visit he had here a while back, a few weeks ago? If we'll come up to the mic and tell him. It was kind of interesting. He was talking to a fellow that got a visit.
So there was a fellow, Miles, that's he's pretty savvy in his OID work, and he got a couple agents. Well, he had some problems with his OID, and so he refiled it. And at first they gave him a check for, I think it was 5 or 800. No, it's 570,000, and then they wanted it back, and with an additional 300,000. So it was about 870,000 they wanted back, and so he refiled, and they came back at him with a presentment of I think it was $750. So he paid that $750, but he had filed another OID with he did his 1040 for $2.2 million. So two agents knocked on his door and wanted to discuss this, and after a very brief time he realized that he knew far more than they did, and he told them, well, you boys need to go back and study your codes, and when you come back, bring my check. But in the meantime, they had a big box of presentments that people had put in from various teachers across the nation, but they seemed interested in only one, and it was these freedom documents. And so this fellow ended up in the seminar a few weeks back because he wanted to make sure he had the right documents, because the only ones that they seemed to be concerned about were the freedom documents out of the whole box. And he was a pretty smart fellow, and he was reading between the lines with these agents.
Thank you. They know what we're doing. They understand this process, and they know what we're doing. Okay, Denise?
Do the 19 copies have to be on 32-pound bond paper?
No, they do not. Just Xerox copies, white paper.
Color or black and white copies? Maybe you just
Black and
answered.
white copies.
If you were born in a different country, where do you send in regards to Bureau of Vital Statistics?
Wherever you got INS papers.
Correct.
Is where you return it to.
Can you review the steps for the mailings? If you don't object, tomorrow afternoon, I will bring a completed package. In fact, we have a gentleman here that will actually be completing his paperwork.
Okay.
And can demonstrate
Appreciate that.
exactly how you
Will
do
you all
it.
do that while I'm doing private meetings?
We'll be happy to,
Okay,
Tim.
that'd
So
be
after
great.
Tim's, we'll be glad to show you firsthand
Appreciate
exactly
that.
how to do that.
Yeah, Donna and Denise are going to help you in some, give you some added information to help you along the way there too tomorrow. And I appreciate them doing that. It'll help clarify some things for you. They can answer some questions for you too that you may have. Okay. That, my friends, is our process. That's simple. It is very simple. It actually is. If you just follow the steps and fill in the blanks. I'm sorry, Brother Morris.
That's all right. That's okay. This is a little bit off target, but nevertheless it's on target because everyone here is targeted, or you will be. I sent this out to the group that's on my mailing list over 9 months ago, but it definitely needs to be repeated, I think, regarding what you're doing and your personal privacy. People are unaware that these cell phones, they're not only a two-way communication between you and the caller that you have, but from the test site at the tower, they can go into the test mode. Your phone can be off. It will never make a sound. They can turn it on, and they can monitor everything going on in your home, in your car, every meeting. And some of you that want to be private, and most of us, we want privacy in a measure, some more so than others, I would tell you, don't leave your telephone in the on position, or don't leave it in the off position. Take the battery out. That is the only surefire way that you will not be able to be monitored. And this is a documentation that I sent out. It wasn't something that I wrote out, but it actually came from a reliable source.
There's documented cases of the FBI using this to get mob violence.
Yeah, and you can think that you're private in some of your conversations, but let me tell you, there is virtually no privacy here in this country.
There is no privacy.
And neither is there any privacy between us and God. So we've got to be aware that what we do with the services here, what we do with the services, our finances, what we do with our personal lives. There is no hiding place, folks. So whatever you do here with the bonds and whatever, you get a blessing and a help for, what the Lord's put into my heart is that you shouldn't do any of this if it will change you, unless it will change you for the better. But if it makes you high-minded, haughty, proudful, you don't need to do this. You've got enough problems as it is.
Right.
Just have it so that, center it in your heart that whatever blessings that you are going to receive as a result of this, that you will only become a better person before God and unto man, and never be high-minded about anything. Because let me tell you, if it wasn't for God, Tim wouldn't be up front, brothers and sisters. And therefore, you're receiving it from the Father.
That's right. Thank you, Brother Mark.
A word on privacy. Who here uses Internet Explorer?
Same thing.
Turn it off. Don't ever use it again. Tell you a horror story. We were in Pennsylvania with a guy who's a Mennonite, and he was having trouble with his computer system, and my co-host is a tech. She had a look at it. Well, the first thing she always does is goes to temporary internet files. Brings it up, it's empty. So she right-clicked, hit properties. The properties said there were 11 gig in the temporary internet files. She go back and look at temporary internet files, why it's empty. She shut it down, brought it up in safe mode, took off all the attributes, went back and looked at it, and it had 11 gig of kiddie porn in it.
Oh my goodness.
Internet Explorer keeps 2 copies. One in temporary internet files that you can see, one that you can't see. She took it all out. We went back 3 months later. It's back again.
He's about to be charged.
One of his grandkids or something. He's a Mennonite, and the IRS is after him. That more than the IRS would have ruined his life.
That was the
Google.
intent.
Who here used Google? Google itself is not an insidious and invasive company, but they keep everything you do. They know more about you than you know. Now, Google really doesn't care about you. Google cares about marketing trends. However, these guys that came and knocked on my brother-in-law's door, they can go to Google and get every single search I've ever done. Now, think about the searches you do, what it tells them, what it can tell them about you. Write down IXQUICK. That's a search engine out of the Netherlands. IXQuick. 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 It keeps nothing. Go to Mozilla or Opera or one of these other, not search engines, browsers, instead of Internet Explorer. The only time I ever turn on Internet Explorer is if I have a program or some file that absolutely has to use it, and then shut it off. The others don't keep all of the background information. And IXQuick, it doesn't give me all the searches I need sometimes. Every once in a while I have to go to Google, but only if IXQuick doesn't find it. And as to your cell phone conversations, you are always being listened to. If you are not, always assume you are being listened to. That's the only way you'll ever be safe. We had a guy in North Carolina. FBI came and arrested him. They said they had 12,000 hours of recordings on this guy.
Don't doubt it.
These guys, they're watching everything. In the early 90s, there was a shortage of processors. That's because the government bought 1 million. They're all in one building. It's one huge system for the purpose of listening to every communication in the country. They listen for keywords. And you say the right word, it locks on, it records it, it watches
It's
it.
called Echelon.
Everything.
Yeah, it doesn't, internet too.
It's safe to assume you are always being listened to. That's the part I get into.
Thank you, Randy. Folks, I have given you the process, and I hope that you'll take it and use it. I think Donna has an announcement that she needs to make. Come up to the mic, and we're going to adjourn and be back in the morning at 9 o'clock. There's no sign-in tomorrow, but we'll start at 9 sharp, and tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, my name is Donna, and I am from the Omaha area, and I went to my first Tim Turner seminar the last weekend in February at Tempe. 2 weeks later, I was at the Denver one, and now here I am at this one, and I am hosting one the first weekend of June. I just sort of jumped in and offered to help Tim.
She didn't know what she was getting into.
Oh, I had no idea, right. 18 hours a day, sort of, I mean, it just goes on. Here's what's happening, though. And this is just because that's all I know how to do, is I did this one website. Now, you guys have asked for different things, like a lot of questions. You want to know the order of the documents that go in the envelope. Well, there are many different scenarios. You want to know steps of different things. You want to just have loads of questions. Write this down. I'm going to have you write down a bunch of stuff now, because I'm not going to get home for a while, and this is going to be to your advantage if you want audios, if you want all this different stuff. Their website is Turner Class, because I thought I was going to class. turnerclass.blogspot.com. And I think this Blogspot has a connection with Google. Sorry, but hey, I didn't know. Whatever. Anyway, turnerclass.blogspot.com. You cannot blog on it. It would make me go nuts. It is just my website, and I'm telling you this tonight now, so all of you who have computers or internet access tonight, you go open it up, and I've written so much now, it's on 2 pages. And you just scroll through and see what's on that thing, okay? I've got like 7, 8 sections already. I am doing it for you and for me. I am one of you. I've got to get my documents done. I've got a mandate for the next 2 weeks. Now I finally did what's on that website. All the people who were in Tempe, all the people who were in Denver, they're all emailed into timturnerclass@aol.com. That email is my email. It's on the website. You need a connection. It's timturnerclass@aol.com. All of you guys need to email your email to me instead of me doing what I did at the other 2, but handing out a piece of paper. Then I have to go home and type in all these emails and create the email address things and so forth. And then you're all going to be in there if you want to stay connected with this stuff. If you have questions, first of all, do some studying. Read this manual and read on the web page. I have a place that's like questions by page number. Go look up the page. Oh, sorry. Yeah, see what happened? We have a different manual, and you're going to be able to coordinate the manual according to the title. And so when you are looking for a certain a document, when you look at the website, you sort of in order find the page number I had from the manuals we got in Tempe and Denver. stick that number on your page in the upper right-hand corner so you can coordinate somehow. And you'll see. If you have problems, you call me, you email me, whatever, because if you email me, I'm probably going to respond, and under my name is going to be a whole long list of links, not links, sources. For instance, right now, for 2 weeks, you can download the audios of Tempe, Denver, I recorded them, like I'm recording this here, and somebody recorded California. And I gave them all to another guy who connected with me in these emails, and he said, hey, if you do this, I'll put them on the website and everybody can download. Because you can't imagine how many people want these downloads so that they have other seminars to listen to. And at the other seminars, I'd go out and buy memory sticks, or I'd say to people, I will give you my recordings, and it took a lot of time. This way, it's right here. Now, if you want to write this down and you'll get it before the weekend, here we go. It's your HTTP thing, :// TomTheBomb.com. TomTheBomb, BOMB.com /audio. It had a capital A, I don't know if that matters. /Tim Turner /Denver /default .htm. Now, you stick Denver in there, you stick Tempe in there, TEMPE, or you stick, I told him, San Fran. For the San Francisco area, you should get all 3 of those, because I'm not going to get home and be able to get through receiving all of your emails until through the end of the week and so forth. And this has been up starting last Thursday and Friday, and it's for 2 weeks. Now, the other thing that's gone on is conference calls. 2 weeks ago, more volunteers. There's a guy, Chris, in the San Francisco area. He put together a group of us, and he is the host for a Wednesday night conference call. It's on TalkShoe. So Wednesday night, this is your address. www.talkshoe.com/TC, like Tomcat, /45724. Thursday night, a guy named Tad has one, and it's the same address. The web number at the end is, Thursday night is 46256. Wednesday night is 5:30 Pacific. Thursday night is 7 p.m. Pacific. TalkShoe's telephone number is 724-444. 7444. You dial that number. It'll ask you for your code. You put in those 5 numbers, either for Wednesday night or Thursday night, the end of the address that I gave you, and you'll be in. Wednesday night is sort of a planned one. There are topics that are going to be planned for part or most of that hour with Tim. Thursday night is sort of like a free-for-all where whoever can get in and ask a question, you can ask it. And what I see these conference calls as doing, which is so fantastic, is we're here, we're going to go home and work at laying our foundation, doing our documents. You're going to have an issue, and you're going to send in a bonded promissory note. Now things are going to happen. And you're going to have all these questions and wonder, okay, because now we have real-life situations. And the conference calls are starting to help people with their real-life situation as to what do we do. And Tim has discussed some amazing, wonderful things in terms of information. Also, these talk show conference calls are all recorded, so they're all there. And that'll be another address when you email me, and you get the long list of all the references, and gradually they'll be on the website. You'll have all of this stuff. Somebody asked about a directory for surety connections. Yes, I can do that. When you email me, please, if you would like, put down your city and your state. And when you email, like in your address box, what's it called, subject box, just put Arlington address book, like that. And then I'll know right away, okay, zip, zip, I'll just get you in there. And anytime you want to be out of this thing, just send me a nice note and just say, hey, please take me off, Donna. But I will send you email updates and different things like that, because as I go through and update the website with questions and so forth, I don't just say, hey, you know, I put a new question on there and you've got to scroll through a whole mile of stuff. I'll give you these in email. One thing for you to do